What's up YouTube, Jay Travelini here. Today we have, in this gaming PC that I built, is an MSI 1650 Super. So my experience with these cards as far as gaming, they perform just as on par as a 1060 6GB would. So today I want to test it against my P10690s as far as mining Ethereum Classic. So if we look here at my P10690s, I'm getting roughly high 21 to low 22 megahash, so roughly 22 megahash a second. And from what the software says, almost 65 watts. So the beauty of the 1650 Super is that it's a very power efficient card. So I want to see if I can get it mining the same as my P10690s at possibly a lower wattage or same wattage, or if I can get more mega hash a second and pretty much make this a very efficient Ethereum Classic mining GPU. So I know these are 3GB cards, these P10690s, and this is a 4GB card. And it also has DDR6 memory, where this is DDR5. So I do have this PC hooked up to a watt meter. So we're idling about 63 watts at the wall. And you know, it may be a little bit higher because you can see I have all the RGB fans going and everything. And it does have an i5 processor in it with dual channel RAM. They don't always run that on mining rigs, so I might be able to save a few watts at the wall. I would take that and still spike up to 68. And we also have to remember I don't have a Gold Plus rated power supply in it. It's only bronze. So I do have phoenixminer, and I still have to get Afterburner installed on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get Afterburner installed, and then we can start running, and I'll run it at base clocks first. Afterburner is now installed. We're still looking at about 63 watts at the wall. So let's go ahead and launch phoenixminer here. Now we are at all stock clocks right now. I haven't tweaked anything yet, so we'll see what it does. It's building the DAG file. See 6050 Super PCI slot. I didn't change anything in the BIOS as far as like Gen 1 or Gen 2. It's pretty much a stock BIOS. This is a gaming computer for like a 10-year-old kid, so I don't want to mess with it too much. So it looks like it's pulling, it says 73.2 watts at the wall, or at the card, at 16.6 megahash a second. So we look at our watt meter, we're at 132. So yeah, about that, about 70 watts at the wall. So that's pretty accurate as far as in the software. It actually might be a little bit higher. So I'm gonna let that run for a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll tweak our settings just a tad. I will put the fan though. I'm gonna change this off of auto and just put it at like 65%. Keep the card a little bit cool. We're at 49C though. We're not too bad. So let's let it run for a little bit, and then we'll see what we're getting. All right, so it's mining for a few minutes now. It actually jumped up to 75 watts. So if we look at our power, we're still at 136, which, yeah, 75 is probably off a little bit, but only off by a couple watts, I believe, in the software. But we're at 16.6 mega hash. So I did open up GPU-Z because I didn't check earlier, but I do have Micron memory in this. So, I mean, it's not too bad. I have Micron on a few of my other graphics cards. So this is reading at the board a 75 watt power draw, which is about pretty much the same as what our mining software is reading. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn the power down to 70. Or actually, we'll go down to 80 so we can get more efficient. But I'm going to also up my core by 50. I'm going to do 400 on the memory. and then we'll see if my power draw goes down, and we'll see if we can get more mega hash. You will notice I finally got my coffee. Help wake myself up and for this whole process, make sure I don't miss anything. So it looks like we're already up at 17.7 mega hash. So we'll see what kind of power we're getting. So it says we're getting 78 watts still at the board with the overclock. So we're still at 78 with 17.7 mega hash a second. On our watt meter, yeah, we went up. We're at 140, almost 141. So we did go up some. So we'll let that run for a few minutes, and then we'll try to I'll probably go down on my power limit, but I might put my memory up at 600 after this. So we'll let this run for a few minutes. So it looks like we're at 17.8, almost 17.9 mega hash a second, but it's saying it's reading 80 watts. If we look at here, we're reading about 80 watts also in GPU-Z. We haven't touched this yet. We're still looking at our powers at about 141 watts at the wall, so reading about 80. So that's pretty accurate. So let's go. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bump up. Let's go 600 on the memory and see if we can get a little bit higher. I may bump the core a little bit. My experience with NVIDIA, to get better mega hash with Ethereum, usually you have to bump the core a little bit. A lot of people go negative with it on AMD cards, but I haven't had as much success. You might be able to get better power efficiency that way, I'm not sure. So now, after bumping this to 600, we're at 18.4 mega hash a second. It's still reading 80 watts. So let's look at the 141. So we're still reading 80 watts. So we went up a little bit. We'll let this run at 18.4 mega hash a second. I'm gonna let it run. So remember, we're trying to get this overclock. We'll turn the power down some and see if we can get this to match my P10690 rig, which is still almost 3 to 4 mega hash a second more. So right now at this point, I'm not too optimistic about. Let's put this back to 0 and see what happens. Actually, see if we drop a little bit. I believe we're going to drop a little bit. We dropped, it looks a little bit in the wattage. We dropped 0.1 mega hash a second, 0.2 mega hash a second. So I may have to up that a little bit. If I put it up to 150 real quick, we'll see what happens. So we're climbing a little bit. And 18.3, I mean, a little bit where we were before. 18.4, we're still at 78 watts at the wall, or in the card. At the wall, it looks like we're still hovering around 141 at the wall. So we'll give this a few minutes to run, and then I'll look to up my memory to 800. I'm gonna leave the core where it's at. Once we get to 800 on the memory, we'll see where we sit, and then maybe adjust the power limit down a little bit. So let's give this a few minutes to run. So it's held steady at 18.4 mega hash a second. So we're gonna up this to 800. I'm gonna lower my core a little bit, and I'm gonna up my fan speeds. We're sitting at 66C, and I get that this is in a closed case. I could open it probably to get a little bit better temperature, but we'll see. We're at 18.6, 800 memory. I don't want to get too crazy on the memory, but I may have to. 19 mega hash a second, so we're still too shy. We started at 16, so if I were to calculate to get up to the 21 mega hash a second, I would have to pretty much put this at 1600 memory, which I don't think it's going to go up to. So we're at 19.1, but we're pulling 80 watts from the wall. So let's bump it to 1000 memory, which I just put it at 1000. and we'll see where we're at as far as speed. It's still running. We're 79 watts, 19.2 mega hash. Let's check my watt meter. Still at 141 to 142 watts at the wall. We're at 19.5. If I put my memory, let's try it at 200. And remember, I just want to get the mega hash up right now. Then I'm going to try and turn the power down. So we're still at 19.5, still at 80 watts, 19.6. We may have gone up a little bit here. 19.7, so 19.7. We're still looking okay. The problem is I'm not as efficient as my P10690s yet, and I may not get there. The memory on the P10690 may just be slightly faster. I was hoping with GDDR6 memory would be fast enough, a little bit faster, that I could beat it out, but I don't think it's going to happen. So let's look at, this goes up to 1500 memory. So we'll put it at 1200. See what happens here. I doubt we're going down. $80 watts still, 18.2. So we went down actually, it looks like. Yep. It may not be taking that memory, so we'll put it back at 1000 and see what happens there. So I didn't touch the power limit yet, and it looks like it's climbing back up, so it looks like we may have hit that. So let's let it run for a couple minutes. So an illegal memory access encountered. So it looks like this overclock's a little too aggressive, so I'm gonna have to restart the miner and turn down. I actually bumped the core up 50, so it looks like it's restarting. We'll restart it and see what happens. I'll put this back down at 200. That usually happens in my experience when you're too high on your memory. So we'll restart the miner here and see what happens. So I actually had to reboot the computer, and then it actually reset on my overclock, so I probably pushed it a little too hard. So I've set it back, 200 memory, 80 on the power limit, and 1000 on the memory. And we're sitting at 57C right now, which it's pretty accurate. But I hit 20 mega hash a second, just low 20 mega hash a second, sitting at 79 watts. So if we look at our watt meter, that's pretty accurate. We're sitting about 140 watts, which is a little bit better than before. So what I really just want to do right now is I'm going to turn my power limit down. We're going to try 70 and see what we get. Actually, that's all the way down. So we're going to do 70 and see what power we can get it, or if it crashes again. If it crashes again, I'll have to up the power limit, but I'm hoping we can get this down to low 70 watts. If it gets down to low 70 watts, I'd say this can compete now 70 watts at the card. So we'll see. We gotta let it go a little bit more. We're still at 20 mega hash a second. And remember, this is in Windows. If you're using a Hive OS or something like that, you may be able to get a little bit lower on wattage, or even higher on your core clocks or something. But 70 watts at 20 mega hash a second, and yeah, I mean, we're at 129, almost 130 watts at the wall. That's about accurate. We got into the 60s. So at 20 mega hash a second, we're doing pretty good here. So I think that's probably the best I'm going to get right now. So comparing it to my P10690, I got about 5 watts less at the wall, but I'm also 2 mega hash shy. But one thing to consider with this is a 4 gigabyte card, where my other ones are 3s. So we got to consider that, and remember that this will mine Ethereum Classic for probably an extra 1.5 years over top of what my 3 gigabyte card would do. So it still makes a contender. So we'll go into what to mine. I'll show you the profits before we end this video. All right, so here we are in what to mine. We got our 20 mega hash a second, and our total wall voltage was the wattage was about 130 watts at the wall. I already have it calculated, so at the time of making this video, Ethereum Classic is trading for $6.04 per coin. So this one GPU will generate roughly 42 cents per day, generating a loss of actually 4 cents per day. But you also have to keep in mind that this is only one GPU. If you're building a rig, you're gonna have multiple GPUs on it, where that initial 65 watts, 70 watts that the PC was idling at, that won't be on every single card, whereas it's calculated on this one. If I were to just calculate the card, I mean, the card would generate 17 cents profit per day. But since I have that idle wattage that I have to pay for it, it's -4. So if we were to pull a calculator out and say you're building, I think we'll say the idle was 70, it's probably like 2 or 3 watts more than what it was. But if you're building a 4-card rig, that's 17.5 watts that each GPU would kind of have to offset in a sense. So if we add 70 watts, so we're at 87.5. We'll say 88 watts per GPU and calculate it. It's an 11 cents per day profit. And that's if you do a 4-card rig. So if you were to do 6, and we're saying we have the 70 watts divided by 6, and it's 11, we'll say 12 watts plus the 70, so 80, we'll say 82 watts. Now you're looking at 13 cents per day profit. So the more cards you put on it, the better. But obviously on this most boards hold roughly 6 GPUs when you have risers. Another thing to consider is I didn't power any risers in this situation, since it was just plugged right into the motherboard. Well, that's another possible 10 watts you would have to account for. As far as 20 mega hash at 70 watts, I got it a little bit more power efficient than my P10690s. But I didn't get the hash rates that they're getting. So if I were to just put them head to head, I'd have to say that the P10690 was slightly better as far as hash rate to wattage. But you have to consider that that's a 3 gigabyte card and this is a 4 gigabyte card. So you'll get a lot more longevity out of the 4 gigabyte card. Plus, you'll get better resale out of that 4 gigabyte card. Not only are my P10690s mining specific, and the 1650 Super is a gaming card, but I mean, to sell a P10690 is kind of tough, being that it's a 3 gigabyte card and not a lot of miners want it anymore. But the P10690s you can also get really cheap. You can get them for probably under $70 per GPU on eBay, and you get still good buyer protection on eBay. So if you do get a dead card, you just can file claims. But the 1650 Super is still under $200 per GPU, so you can still get a rig set up for a fairly good price. You are kind of stuck with Ethereum Classic as far as mining for the most part. There are other coins you can mine with it. I just don't know the profitability. I didn't test it to see what hash rates I could get. I was just focusing on Ethereum Classic, and since it's switched to allow the 3 and 4 gigabyte GPUs. But you know, another contender you could look at is like a 570 or 580 4 gigabyte card. You can usually get, I've seen them high 20 mega hash a second at a hovering around 80, 90 to 100 watts per GPU. So that's another thing you can consider. I may try and get my hands on some to test it on the blockchain, see what I can do, and possibly look at building a rig out of it. But you know, hopefully someone found this video helpful and was thinking about the 1650 Supers as far as mining Ethereum Classic. But this, in my situation, was what I was able to achieve. You know, thanks for checking this video out. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you turn that bell icon on and stay tuned for more videos.